Hello, Julia, and welcome to my channel. It's such a pleasure having you here today. How are you doing?
How are me? I'm very well. Thank you so much for having me here with you today.
Yes, so today we'll be talking a little bit about your experience in teaching, your experience in living in New Zealand, and why you have moved there. So let's start by you telling us a little bit about yourself. Tell us what you do. Tell us also where you live. So,
Yeah, so I'm a language teacher and I'm currently living in New Zealand. I lived in different countries. I like moving around the world thanks to my job because it gives me the chance to travel the world, and traveling is my passion together with teaching. So I was able to combine those two things. And at the moment I'm in New Zealand, I'm teaching both English to international students and Italian to Kiwis. That's the way people call people from New Zealand. And and every winter I also manage to run some Italian courses for an Italian company who is actually operating in New Zealand, and they want their employees to explore Italian culture and history. And since I'm a big fan and a big kind of expert, I would say, of Italian history, then they want me to run the course. So yeah. It's amazing, actually.
Nice. And do you do all of this virtually, or do you go to, like, let's say for the people learning English or Italian, do you do this virtually? Or do you actually go to a classroom setting?
No, we go to classroom here. So after the pandemic, people just wanted to go back with one-on-one live personal lessons or group lessons like in presence. I still have some students online from Italy. They have been studying with me forever. So I do both. I do online and in person. But in New Zealand, only in person. People love to get the contact, and having an Italian there is like, oh yeah, tell us everything about it.
Yeah, I can imagine. And you said you live in New Zealand. So how long have you been there? Why did you move to New Zealand, which is like on the other side of the world? Tell us a little bit about your experience moving there and what it feels like to live there.
Yeah, definitely. So it is actually the other side of the world completely, if you think about Italy. So I couldn't go farther. And my partner and I, we decided to come here because we love traveling and we really wanted to explore the Pacific. But traveling here is very expensive. Because if you want to go to the Pacific Island, let's think about Fiji, for example, from Europe it's crazy expensive. You would never go. While from here, it's only 3 hours flight and it's relatively cheap. So working here is giving us the opportunity to actually travel this part of the world, which would be inaccessible otherwise. So that's the main reason why we moved to New Zealand. And also we wanted to try and work on the other side of the world. And working here is very, very good. Timetable is flexible. People are very chilled, very relaxed. And it's a good place to live if you like nature and if you don't mind feeling isolated from time to time, because you do feel isolated. That's true. You feel you are far away and you feel you are on an island in the middle of the ocean. So it's good to travel in this part of the world, but it's not that good to travel to the rest of the world because it's far away from everywhere. So we have been here 2 years and we're going to stay for another year and a half, and then we'll move somewhere else because we want to dedicate this part of our life not only to work but also to travel.
So. Gotcha. So you're a big traveler, it seems like.
Yes. Absolutely.
And is there like a big community of Italian people in New Zealand or not at all?
I wouldn't call it like a very big community. There are Italians, and I know some people get together for maybe dinners from time to time. but it's not like we have a meeting every month or something. Like, there are Italians, and if you want to get out with them, you have the opportunity to do it, but it's not like a Chinese community or an Indian community where they do festivals and stuff like that. We do have an Italian festival, but it doesn't run every year. So I would say there is a community, but it's not so tight. And yeah, you have the opportunity to definitely speak Italian and get together with other Italians. But there are not many, I have to say, compared to other parts of the world.
Yeah, I'm assuming it's not so much of a popular destination given how far it is, so...
Yeah, people normally go to Australia. In Australia, there is a big Italian community, definitely.
Yes, I know about Australia having a big Italian community, yes, definitely. So tell us a little bit more about your teaching experience. I know you have a YouTube channel, I know you have a podcast, so can you tell us a little bit more about what you do with those two platforms?
Yeah, definitely. So I opened my podcast in 2021, and at the beginning the YouTube channel was just the place where the podcast would end up as well, because on YouTube you can get the subtitles, so some students like that, but now I'm trying to use YouTube a bit more, putting different content. I've just started out with YouTube. So yeah, the podcast is really the foundation of my online business, which is called Italian Time Zone. And it's dedicated to teaching Italian through history mainly, and Italian, everything that's related to Italy, really Italian culture, traditions, but mainly history. And when I started out, I've noticed that it was hard to find accessible, meaningful resources online if you wanted to learn Italian and you were already at an upper intermediate advanced level. There are thousands of resources for people who want to start out, but not many for those who actually already have a good level and they want to know more. They want to get to know more about the country, and the positive but also the negative parts. They want to get to know it deeper. So you could find, of course, all this content for native speakers, but there wasn't anything for learners. And content for native speakers is great, and I always recommend it. I often share with my students content that I recommend them to listen, but it's not for everybody, because some people get frustrated and then maybe they give up because it's too difficult. So yeah, I decided to open my own channel for learners of Italian around the world who are interested in Italy, history, traditions at a deeper level. And I'm a curious learner myself. Every time I travel to a country, I read, I listen to podcasts. I want to know the history of that place. I want to understand it well. I want to be prepared when I go to visit some places. And basically, I wanted the Italian learners to have the same experience, to be ready once they were coming to Italy, interacting with local people and knowing where they were going and why that particular building is there, why the street and the roads have certain names, because this tells a lot about the country. So I want to my students to experience the same, and I want to help them navigate history that sometimes it's difficult or boring, because some people consider it boring. But a lot of my students are not history lovers. They're just people that are curious, and so I help them access this information and helping them exploring and getting more curious, so that they can maybe keep searching for information and keep learning. And everything is done in Italian, so you have this incredible language around you that you just keep experiencing and absorbing. And then, of course, it's important to practice it, because you cannot just passively absorb information.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where my courses come in. So if you want to take the next step, so if you want to actually produce the language and become a proficient user, then you can work with me and we can work on that together. Not everybody takes that step, because I know a lot of people love to just studying independently, and I respect that. So, for example, I've got both self-paced courses for independent learners, and then, upgrades where people, they like, oh yeah, but I actually want to get, corrections on my writings, or I want to discuss the topic, and then they can work with me one-on-one or in groups to do the next step. Yeah.
Gotcha. So basically, my understanding of this is that people learning, for instance, Italian, they're pretty much immersed into the Italian culture and history, because that's what you try to create through the courses and lessons that you're offering. Gotcha.
Yeah. And some people maybe don't have the chance to travel to Italy. Not everybody can travel, and giving them the opportunity to access so much, I think it's very important. And then for people that have the opportunity to travel, then of course they will have the opportunity to go to Italy, even with me, if they want, of course, and travel in Italy with me or on their own. But for me, it's important that everybody has got the opportunity to access certain information, not just the people that can travel, but everybody, really. For me, it's really important. That's why the podcast is free, because I want everybody to access certain content.
Gotcha. So you told me that you teach students like face-to-face, and you teach to both people learning English and Italian. What are some of the struggles that they face that you have noticed, or what's the trend?
Yeah, so I mainly noticed like 3 main struggles. The first one is that I would say for both languages, sometimes people, they'll be bored by, the normal textbook that they find, because I use them as well, but I always select the most interesting bits. And textbooks, I'm not against textbooks. I think they are great material at a certain level, and also in order to give a well-structured lesson. So what I normally do, maybe I take something from a textbook and then I expand, because what I've noticed that people struggle to find more information about the topic that is given to them on a regular lesson. So they want to know more. They want to get deeper, because if you get deeper, then they can really start processing the language and learning more and using the language more. So I would say the first struggle is finding those meaningful resources that are accessible, and they are not too difficult for them, but they are really, really accessible. So that would be the first one, I would say. Then the second one is really what everybody always says, and I said it myself with my French, for example. Oh, I understand everything, but I can't speak. Or I can't write. The feeling of, you get all these input, right? All this language from podcasts and videos or books. And then you're like, okay, and now how do I write? How do I speak? What do I do with that? So that's for sure the step of like getting the language, used to.
Out of your mouth, basically.
Yeah, exactly. So either writing or speaking. So that's for sure the second struggle, and that's why I've got my courses, because I really push the students to write a bit more or to speak a bit more, and gradually, of course. So step by step, you get to do that. And then the last struggle, I would say, sometimes I've noticed both when I teach international students and English or or Italian, is that once you start talking about, for example, the negative, not really the negative, but also the negative parts of a country, it's somehow, it's a bit sad to say, but somehow we feel all related because like corruption, for example, is everywhere. So I would like to for them also to explore these, because I think when you explore certain topics, you can develop critical thinking. And I think language learning needs more critical thinking. So not just short dialogues, short interaction, but people need to reason, to think at a deeper level in order to then develop the language in a good way and have a communication and speak. Because as one of my colleagues said recently in one of her webinars, like once you can master the language, you got your freedom and you've got power and control on your language. So yeah, I think people struggle to put these thoughts together and giving a good presentation of what their opinion is. And so, that's what we try to do together, to actually think through, ask questions, and develop critical thinking, basically.
Yeah, your classes seem so much fun, I have to say.
Yes, we have a lot of fun.
So much fun. Like you're telling me all of this, and I'm thinking maybe I should take some classes with you as well. But I don't even know to learn what. But it seems so interesting, really.
We try to have fun. That's also important.
Yeah, that's also important. And I do want to ask you one last thing, which is, what kind of advice would you offer to people learning either Italian or English?
Yeah, I think it works for every language, really. And I give the advice to myself as well as a learner of Spanish and French. Just learning in context. Like never take the language isolated with, those sentences that are just there to let you practice whatever grammar you're practicing, because you need context, you need something valuable for you, you need something interesting. Like if you love sport, go for it. Like just watch videos, interviews, podcasts, read a book of your favorite, the biography of your favorite sport person. Like getting the language in context, I think, is the most important thing, because then you will make the topic yours, you will make connections. And so that's for sure about the input part, so the language you are receiving passively. And then the second advice is always to get this language active. So activate your language. How can you do that? We've got our smartphones nowadays, so you don't even need a notebook. You can take notes while you are on the bus, or you can record a voice message to yourself. I've got a chat with myself on Telegram where I record myself speaking in Spanish. So it's like, of course, it's better to talk to somebody, but sometimes we don't have the opportunity. So
right, especially if you're in an isolated country.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like just always mix the passive, so listening or reading, and the active, so writing and speaking, and put those things together. Try, make an effort, make mistakes, because it's very important to make mistakes. And then if you need extra support, contact a teacher. I mean, that's that's why we are still here, not replaced by AI yet.
Yes.
So
Yes, lovely. Well, thank you for sharing those tips. I think it was great to learn, especially about the tips, which is about like combination of passive and active. And I think it's a very useful tip. So hopefully people watching can get a lot of useful and valuable information from this interview. But before we go, I do have 5 rapid fire questions that I always ask to my guests. So are you ready?
Yes.
Okay, it's a very fast, rapid fire question. So I don't even want you to think too much. It's whatever comes out of your mind. Like it's whatever you think of, just say it.
Okay.
So the first question is, one subject you would like to learn more about?
Geography.
Geography. Okay. This one, since you said you're learning Spanish and French, and you also know English and Italian, of course, your favorite word in another language?
Okay. I don't know why I love the word misleading in English.
Why? Like,
I don't know. Probably just the way it sounds to me, misleading. I don't know why. Yeah, that's the first one that comes up in my mind, actually. Yeah.
Gotcha. Still talking about words, what word do you have hard time pronouncing?
Entrepreneur. I don't even know if I say it correctly now. That was very entrepreneur. It was very hard for me at the beginning. Like I couldn't get it.
Well,
2 kgs.
You sound good.
Yeah, after 25 years practicing it.
The fourth question, favorite food?
Focaccia.
Focaccia. Okay.
She's not focaccia. Yes, definitely.
Last question, favorite moment of the day?
Of the day in general. I love the afternoons.
Why?
Because I get the time to go out in nature after work. Yeah.
Gotcha.
And I can walk and can relax.
Okay, sounds good. All right, thank you, Giulia, for being here with me today. Before we go, do you want to share with us where people can find you?
Yeah, so you can find me on my website, italiantimezone.com, or on Instagram, Italian Time Zone, and YouTube, Italian Time Zone, and my podcast as well, Italian Time Zone. Well, it's in Italian, Impara Italiano con la storia, so learn Italian with history. So yeah, but if you access my website, you get all of those things as well.
All right, okay, sounds good. Well, I want to thank you once again for being here with me today. I will definitely put all the links that you have mentioned in the description. And once again, thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Urmi. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.